Welcome to the last part of the Brown Jenkin carving. If you are more interested in the final result than the carving process, a showcase video will be released at the same time as this one. I will do one of those for each of my projects from now on. When we left off, the body and the head were finished, but the hands and the tail were missing. The tail was pretty straightforward. I laid Brown Jenkin on a board of basswood and drew a nice tail shape which I refined with a French curve. I then cut the shape with a bandsaw, leaving myself a tenon to join it to the body. The first step was to clean up the fourth side, then shape those edges into an octagon and finally round it all over. I sped up the process about the ends mostly because they are so small and it's a bit hard to see. I believe a full tutorial with a bigger end would be more efficient for those interested in learning how to carve them. But in short, the first step is to make a box that encompasses the whole end. Then I carved oven mitts, then a thick glove, and finally I shaved more material until they look like ends. When the wood is this thin, especially when it's very dry, it gets very brittle. This is why I switched to diamond files near the end to finish the small details. So I'm done carving the hands, and I pre-sanded them so that they are smooth. So the next step would be to glue them in place. However, once they're glued, I won't be able to sand underneath, and I won't be able to finish them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drill the holes so I can insert a peg. And then I will leave them aside and finish sculpting the arms. So this is what it looks like with the peg in. So from there I can see what what material I need to remove. So you can see that here I need to remove this here, and on the front side I need to remove this here as well. So I'll try to even this out and eventually I'll finish the arm. I did have a problem sculpting this end. It broke, so I ended up having a short stubby finger instead of having long fingers like the others. It was like this. It was supposed to be like this, but this knuckle cut off, so now he has one pointy short stubby finger. But I was planning on painting the nails black anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this nail out of putty and pin them. For the other one, I did not sculpt the inside of the hand because I didn't want to have the same issue and try to separate every finger only to have them break. So I'll just even like this. Anyway, once they're glued in place, you really have to try to find an angle to see underneath, which is not super easy to do. And usually the sculpture will probably just be sitting on the desk somewhere. So I'm done with the feet. I shot footage of the feet, but I ended up scrapping all of it because mostly when I was carving, either the body was in the way or it was so small or my hands was in the way. So eventually if I make another video where I'm carving a feet, I'll make a bigger feet or at least have it clear. So now all that's left to do in the carving process is just the arm. So now that I'm done with all the parts, I'm just going to start sanding everything. I'm not going to shoot all of the sanding process because it will probably take me a few hours, and even if I do cuts, it won't be super interesting. So I'm going to go from with 150 sandpaper, 150 grit, then with 220, and then with 400. Once everything is done, I'm just going to clean it off with vacuum cleaner and some denatured alcohol. So I'm going to apply the first coat of finish. The finish I'm going to use is Minwax Towing Oil. It's a penetrating oil, and that will harden the surface. The first coat will be mostly sacrificial. It will only be used to highlight all the bumps that still needs to be sanded, and it will seal the grain. I will sand it all the way down to 400 after the coat. In this step, I'm using 2 parts epoxy putty, also known as green stuff, to sculpt the missing claw, the broken finger, and also the toe claws. So the putty now has been hardened, and I also put a drop of super glue on it to make it harder, and I've sanded it all the way up to 400 grit. So now I'm going to just paint them right now, because once they will be glued, they will be slightly harder to paint. Once everything, all the finish has been applied, I will also paint the teeth. I want the teeth to look natural, even like real teeth, even though I want to leave the rest as is. But before I paint them, and while the wood can still absorb a little bit of stain, I want to wash the inside so that it's darker than the skin. For that, I'm using salmon water stain, the walnut, dark walnut, and I diluted it with some denatured alcohol. Right, so I'm going to let this dry, and then it's back to sanding. I need to sand everywhere where I smudged the paint. I need to resand the lips and the eyelids. And there are some spots that are not smooth enough. Once you apply the first coat of finish, you can see everywhere where it's smooth, and you can also see all the places that are poorly sanded. So the arms are now attached, and so is the tail. The seam is pretty neat. So I was afraid it would be a gap because it was not fully flat on both sides, but with the epoxy with a bit of sawdust in it, it's pretty seamless. It looks very shiny right now because I've been adding more of the tonal finish on this area because I sanded everything again. And once it's done soaking, when you put on more layer, you sand, you put more layer, it becomes very, very shiny. This is the time to stop applying this finish. What I'm going to do after will just to be sand it back again to make it more matte like this, and then I will just apply a satin polyurethane finish, just probably just a single coat, just to have it everything with a nice much like this, so that it's not shiny, just have a slight sheen to it, but not a gloss finish. It's with the gloss finish. Looks like it's made of rubber or it's wet. It's not very pretty. It's more nice like this area here, which is more like satin finish. So it's almost done. The nails are done. The tail is done. All that's left are the teeth. So I'm going just to paint the teeth. For the teeth, I started with a beige base coat. Then I started layering with a very diluted white with more layers on the tip and the center of each tooth, so it looks more rounder than it really is. To give them a bit more depth and so they are not sparkling white, I washed them with Citadel's Ogrim Flesh Wash. Finally, I added some more of the black walnut stain I used earlier to add more shadow near the lips. So the carving is now complete. I applied the last of the finish on it. Everything has been sanded and everything is painted. All that's left are some details on the eyes and the teeth. Mostly I'm going to apply a gloss on the eyes to make them look shinier. And also I've experimented on this handle. And I decided that I'm going to apply some blood on the teeth to make them look more gruesome. I also applied just a small line on the eyes, makes them look a bit deeper. So this is what I'm going to do. For the gloss, I'm using Citadel Art Coat. We can't see it much because it's white on white for some reason. For the blood, I'm using Citadel Blood for the Blood God technical paint. It's gloss with some red pigment in it. So it's very transparent and very shiny. This concludes this video. If you want to see more of the Brown Jenkin carving, I recommend you watch the showcase video, which will be released at the same time as this one. It will contain different camera angle and light settings. If you appreciate what I'm doing, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. My next project will be a video series for beginners who want to learn how to carve wood. I will go over the different tools you need, what kind of wood to carve, and teach the different techniques with a simple step-by-step project. If this is something that would interest you, please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon so you get notified as soon as it's out. As usual, if you have any question or suggestion, please tell me in the comment section. I read and respond to all of them. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.